is a short video about how to way forward in the entrepreneurial journey. We need to discuss that what we want. This is our life, and we want to build up a profession, a career out of it. So how we move and make a clear dedication to the entrepreneurship. You need to find a sweet spot, how they call it, right? What we might consider is not just our own skills, but also in a way of trying to find out different experiences, the networks that we have, the existing resources, right? So we are trying to find a kind of a synergy of all these different individual dimensions that will make us to choose, concentrate, and make out of it a career. So finding this sweet spot will be very, very good point to make a decision. And it's all up to you. It's an individual decision, right? Once you are clear, right, you need to move on. And what can you do? There are different ways of starting up a company. Either you can have such kind of a linear approach, saying that, okay, this is my goal, and these are the needed resources. I will target to bring them together and then follow the business plan. So very much this is what we teach in most of the programs in entrepreneurship, right? To come up with a new startup, you need to plan ahead and come up with a nice way of action plan that you will follow over the years. Or some of the approaches are saying that you can start with the means, whatever you have, what resources you have right now at the moment, in regardless of the goal, and try out, experiment. Perhaps the goal is not so clear. You don't know yet. You don't have enough experimentation. So first you start with these resources, a combination of resources, bring you into some service or a product, and then you go ahead and do the lean startup. Prototypes, try to customers, see their feedback, accordingly go back, and then try to make adjustments. So the goal is not straightforward at the start, but over the time, through the different tools, you are trying to streamline and then make a kind of a clear goal at the end of this approach. Another one, like the lean startup, effectuation might also help in this nonlinear approach where you don't start with the goal. Effectuation is trying to do the same. You are very limited respect to the resources, so you just don't play big. You start small with some sort of experimentation and trying to secure your game by reducing the risks and the uncertainties. Over the time, again, by interactions and building all these products and services, you get much more confidence and realization of products that make you to be convinced where to play, right, next. So it's a combination sometimes. I mean, you just start with perhaps a linear approach, but over the time, you might end up with some kind of lean startup techniques or effectuation, or vice versa. I mean, you just have this lean startup kind of a thinking, but immediately you reach out such a good range of resources that will make you decide to go ahead with a large scale move. This is all very flexible if you know what they are and how you can adopt them. This will make your life much easier, right? The tools are there to help you during decision making. Once this personal decision is done and then how you proceed is decided about the method, Then you can just talk about, all right, I'm just building my business plan. I am building my resources. I am bringing the teams, right? Whatever. And then you are trying to make the balances of this entrepreneurial process. In the lean startup, you focus on the experimentation. You are trying to do iterative product releases and then validated learning over time. There are lots of cycles that we go on. Believe me, entrepreneurship journey is an evolution. It will start to be very messy, but don't give up. I mean, this is the way of doing it. Okay, when you want to cook something, right, in the kitchen, it gets messy, but at the end you have a wonderful meal. So this is the way to go, right? Experimenting, iterations, different versions, prototypes. These are the parts of the journey, and then you are trying to just build together all these existing resources in a new recombinations, in a new portfolios, trying to come up with different imaginations, diverse aspirations, and then following all these kind of various methods in a nice way. In that journey also, besides all this particular method selection and so on, you also need to be aware that there are a number of serious challenges, barriers to women, okay? Especially in the tech industry, we see very small portion of entrepreneurs being women. Similar to the glass ceiling that you have, I am sure, heard about in managerial world, in the tech industry also, we have similar glass ceilings. So if you are aware of those barriers, then you can be strong in building the strategies, adopt them, potential strategies that will overcome them. So here is a list of some of those barriers and the strategies that we identified in our research, and what people have been discussing in terms of what struggles they go through and how they come across with the solutions. In fact, of course, there's no formula again here, but at 3 levels, women face with the barriers. At the individual level, right, there is a chain of various problems that you can think about that it can prevent you, right, like the lack of confidence. When they make studies among the university students, women students have much less confidence in terms of becoming an entrepreneur. This has been generated at the, of course, organization, institutional level, because the society, the culture, right, affects us. But this is how we live it as at the individual characteristic about our self-reliance and about our confidence. So this is something real that happens, and you need to be aware those barriers come into play when you want to make the decisions whether you want to pursue a career in entrepreneurship or not. So you need to find solutions, how to fight with that kind of barrier that you might experience yourself. Not everybody will have similar kind of barriers. These are just a number of examples here that is pulled together from different literature, from different academic studies. But this is important to think about. At the individual level, we will feel them as barriers, just ourselves, like being young, considered in the business. When you are PhD student, you came up with a wonderful PhD, and you want to use it and then start up a company, right? When you want to sell it to the companies, they will see you, a very young person, right? I mean, how we trust to that person? You have spent all your PhD years to build up all this knowledge, but still, you will be considered in the eyes of others, right? At the individual level that they are so young. So there's a trust issue. I mean, should we trust to such a young person, kind of? So you need to have validation, right? Some sort of at the individual level, you feel such a barrier. I mean, again, I mean, this is considered as a barrier by others at the individual level. Then comes organization level, right? Then you want to go up out there and try to get funding. This is one of the crucial resource to start a company and run a company. And when you are trying to accessing to the funding, it's so obvious that women have much less finding opportunities. So this is a critical barrier, and there's a bias also among the financiers. When they talk with them, they tend to support startups that are started by men. And lack of networks at the organization level, it becomes another barrier because you don't know people here and there in different organizations that might cause barrier. But you shouldn't be worried about those barriers. There will be a number of them, but there are strategies that you can mediate. That's why we are talking about those barriers, right? Those are there in different levels, like the society, for example, here again, another list of barriers: lack of government benefits and support, role conflicts because of the family obligations, stereotyping, harassments, right? Those are out there, and those are the problems. And this is something that you should be aware and to get ready and prepared so that you can develop your strategies according to the barriers that you will face individually. Not everybody will have the same ones, but a number of barriers will be always there, and then you need to think about how to overcome. So again, here the solutions are numerous. There are many strategies that you can adopt. You can build some assets, capital, we call it, at different levels that will help you to fight back with all the barriers that we have been discussing. So the first one is about talking about the some way of financial capital, right? These are the economical resources that you will need: money or material possessions, like having a building, an office, a factory building, right? All these things might be helpful as an economic resource that you will use in the organization. So you need to go ahead, try to apply to the government funds, try to do some sort of bootstrapping, not spending too much, very being stingy in a number of ways. There are many techniques that are developed how to do that for startups. Or it might be, I mean, building up a culture capital built on you in terms of experiences and education, right? You have lots of learning through different means, and all this help you to fight back with the biases or prepare yourself for working harder. And this will be very handy to fight back the barriers. Other one is about social capital, the networks that we mentioned earlier, right? It's not just characteristics of people, personal characteristics, but also the experiences, skills, and the networks we mentioned as the key elements of being an entrepreneur. So social capital talks about these networks and the alliances that you can build, knowing people around in the community and having mentors, right? All this help you to build the networks that will be very handy when you come across with the problems. You can call them, reach out them. They can they don't need necessarily be part of the company, but they will be out there available, guiding you, supporting you, listening you. I mean, just like being in the PhD, having a shoulder to cry, right? This is important to have. Social capital helps you in so many ways. And final one that you can think about as a asset that you need to build up, capital that will be useful, is the symbolic capital, status, reputation, recognitions, uh, earning some kind of awards, right? Taking advantage of power in your field, in your knowledge area, in your own innovation. So this will build so much status and reputation in the field that will strengthen you, and then you will be much uh, eased, comforted, and much more flexible in dealing with those barriers that you will come across. So eventually, when you are going through that entrepreneurial journey, right, build the team, raise resources, start the business. It's all going to be very, very easy once you are determined and informed about what to do, right? What to do daily to survive in such a crazy environment, uncertain environment that you end up with so much pleasures, joy, fun, outcomes that which contribute to your life, anybody that works with you, society, economy, to the global environment, right? I mean, name it. So many rewards at the end of the journey. So good luck if you decide to become an entrepreneur. It's not a must, but if you choose as a career, there is a very nice journey waiting for you. Good luck with that.